I'd have to fight for my childhood home at the age of 28. But here I was sitting in the lawyer's office, watching my stepmother Miranda smugly flip through the latest will my father had signed just 2 weeks before his death. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and until 6 months ago, I had what most people would consider a charmed life. I ran a successful small bakery in downtown Boston, lived in a cozy apartment overlooking the harbor, and had a close relationship with my father, despite the tension that had existed since he married Miranda 3 years ago. Dad had always been my rock, especially after Mom died of cancer when I was 12. For 10 years, it was just the two of us in our beautiful Victorian home in Beacon Hill. He threw himself into raising me alone, never missing a school event or dance recital. When I started showing interest in baking, he converted part of our kitchen into a practice space where I could experiment with recipes. Follow your passion, he'd always say, but make sure you have a solid plan. That's exactly what I did. After culinary school, I worked in several high-end bakeries before opening my own place. Dad was my biggest supporter, both emotionally and financially. He helped me secure the loan for my bakery, using our family home as collateral. This house has been in our family for 4 generations, he told me. It should help build the 5th generation's dreams too. Everything changed when Miranda came into our lives. She was 15 years younger than Dad, with perfectly manicured nails and a smile that never quite reached her eyes. They met at a charity gala where she was working as an event coordinator. Within 6 months, they were married. I tried to be happy for them, really tried. Dad deserved love after spending so many years alone. But something about Miranda set off warning bells. Maybe it was the way she casually mentioned how outdated the house was and how they should sell it. Or how she'd make subtle digs about my career choice, always with that plastered-on smile. A bakery is such a quaint business, she'd say during family dinners. But don't you think you should aim higher, Sarah? Your father's position in the financial world could open so many doors. Dad would usually change the subject during these moments. He hated conflict, always had. But I noticed how he started becoming more distant, our weekly dinners becoming monthly, then barely at all. When I did see him, he looked tired, worried. I should have pushed harder to find out what was wrong. The diagnosis came like a thunderbolt on a clear day. Pancreatic cancer, already stage 4. 3 months at most, the doctors said. Dad handled it with the same quiet dignity he approached everything in life. But Miranda changed almost overnight. Gone was the subtle manipulation, replaced by open hostility whenever Dad wasn't in the room. I'd come to visit and find her whispering to him, stopping abruptly when I entered. Documents would quickly be shuffled out of sight. But most worrying were the new people suddenly always around. Lawyers I'd never seen before, financial advisors who weren't from Dad's firm. Just getting our affairs in order, Miranda would say sweetly when I asked about them. Your father wants to make sure everything is taken care of. I should have fought harder then, should have demanded answers. But how do you fight when your father is dying? How do you risk making his last days filled with conflict? 2 days before Dad passed away, I finally managed to get a moment alone with him. He was so weak by then, the cancer having ravaged his once strong frame. Sarah, he whispered, gripping my hand with surprising strength, the blue box. Remember the blue box. Before I could ask what he meant, Miranda swooped back into the room, a nurse in tow. Darling, it's time for your medication. Sarah, I think it's best if you go now. Too much excitement isn't good for him. That was the last time I spoke to my father. He slipped into a coma that night and was gone by morning. I didn't even get to say goodbye. The day of the will reading, Miranda arrived at the lawyer's office dressed in head-to-toe designer black, playing the grieving widow to perfection. Her 2 adult children from a previous marriage flanked her like honor guards. Justin and Ashley, both around my age, both eyeing me with barely concealed contempt. Mr. Patterson, Dad's longtime lawyer, looked uncomfortable as he prepared to read the will. I'd known him since childhood. He'd helped Dad set up my college fund, handled the paperwork for my bakery loan. The fact that he wouldn't meet my eyes sent a chill down my spine. This last will and testament, he began, his voice carefully neutral, was signed by Thomas Mitchell 2 weeks before his death. Witnessed by Gerald Conway and Philip Reeves. I didn't recognize either name, but Miranda's slight smile told me she did. As Mr. Patterson read through the document, I felt the floor dropping out from under me. The house, Dad's investment portfolio, even his majority stake in my bakery. Everything was left to Miranda. I was to receive a small monthly allowance to be managed by my loving wife as she sees fit. No, I whispered, this isn't right. Dad would never. Oh, but he did, Miranda cut in smoothly. Your father realized that you needed guidance, structure. He was very concerned about your ability to manage such significant assets. That's a lie. I stood up so quickly my chair toppled backward. Dad helped me build my business. He believed in me. He was clearly not thinking clearly near the end. Miranda finished, her voice dripping with false sympathy. The cancer medications, they can affect judgment. Mr. Patterson cleared his throat. There is one other matter. Mr. Mitchell's safety deposit box at First National Bank. He left specific instructions that it should be opened only after the will reading in the presence of all parties. Something flickered across Miranda's face. Uncertainty? Fear? But it was gone so quickly I might have imagined it. Well then, she said, rising gracefully, shall we proceed to the bank? As we walked out of the office, Miranda fell into step beside me. I've been thinking, she said quietly, so only I could hear. That old house really is too big for just me. I'll probably sell it. Unless, of course, you'd like to rent it. At market rate, naturally. I stopped walking, my hands clenching into fists. That house has been in my family for generations. Her smile was pure poison. Not anymore, dear. Not anymore. The drive to the bank was silent, heavy with unspoken tensions. I kept thinking about Dad's last words to me. The blue box. Remember the blue box. What had he been trying to tell me? First National Bank was a grand old building in downtown Boston, all marble columns and brass fixtures. The bank manager led us down to the safety deposit box room, his keys jingling with each step. Mr. Patterson followed, carrying a thin folder. Box 2317, the manager announced, inserting his key. Mr. Patterson used a second key, and the box slid out smoothly. Inside was a single blue metal box, about the size of a shoebox, with a simple combination lock. My heart started racing. This was what Dad had been trying to tell me about. Well, Miranda demanded. Open it. Mr. Patterson shook his head. According to Mr. Mitchell's instructions, only Sarah knows the combination. All eyes turned to me. Miranda's confident smile wavered slightly. I stared at the lock, my mind racing. What would Dad have used? What number would he expect me to remember? Then it hit me. The date we opened my bakery. The day Dad said his investment in my dreams had paid off. With trembling fingers, I turned the dials. 0 to 41 to 7. The lock clicked open. Inside the box, neatly organized, were several envelopes and a USB drive. But what caught everyone's attention was the small voice recorder sitting right on top, with a post-it note in Dad's handwriting. Play me first. I picked up the recorder with shaking hands and pressed play. Dad's voice, weak but clear, filled the small room. My dearest Sarah, if you're hearing this, then things have happened exactly as I feared they would. Dad's voice, though weakened by illness, carried the sharp intelligence I remembered from my childhood. If you're listening to this recording, it means Miranda has done exactly what I suspected she would. Convinced me to sign a new will in my final days. I heard Miranda's sharp intake of breath beside me as Dad continued. What she doesn't know is that I've been documenting everything since the day she first suggested I update my will. The USB drive in this box contains video recordings from hidden cameras in my home office, showing Miranda and her lawyer discussing their plans while they thought I was sedated. You'll also find copies of emails between them, discussing how to manipulate me when the medications made me confused. Miranda lunged for the box, but Mr. Patterson smoothly stepped between us. Please continue playing the recording, Sarah. There's more, Dad's voice went on. In the green envelope, you'll find the real will I signed and had notarized 2 months ago, when I was still clear-headed. Mr. Patterson has the original in his office safe. In the blue envelope is documentation of every cent Miranda has embezzled from my accounts over the past year, including transfers to offshore accounts in her children's names. This is ridiculous, Miranda sputtered, her composure finally cracking. He was delusional at the end. Everyone knows that. But Dad had anticipated this too. I know Miranda will claim I was confused or delusional. That's why the yellow envelope contains sworn statements from my doctors, confirming that I was mentally competent until the final week of my life. The new will she forced me to sign is dated 2 weeks before my death. but hospital records show I was already on heavy sedation by then. The bank manager, who had been watching silently, spoke up. "Should I call security, Mr. Patterson?" "Yes," the lawyer replied calmly. "And the police? I believe they'll be very interested in this evidence." Miranda's face had gone from white to mottled red. "You can't prove anything. It's all lies from a dying old man, who was a legendary financial investigator known for exposing fraud." I cut in, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "Who taught me everything he knew about following money trails and spotting cons?" "That dad." Justin and Ashley, who had been edging toward the door, found their escape blocked by two burly security guards. Mr. Patterson was already pulling documents from the box, his expression grim as he scanned their contents. "The real will," he announced, holding up a thick document, "leaves the house and the majority of the estate to Sarah, with reasonable provisions for Miranda's comfort during her lifetime, provided she had not attempted to alter the inheritance, which, given recent events, are now null and void." Dad's voice crackled from the recorder again. "Sarah, sweetheart, I'm so sorry for the pain this must be causing you. I wanted to tell you everything, but I needed Miranda to believe she had one. You always said I watched too many spy movies." His weak chuckle turned into a cough. "The house is yours, as it should be. The bakery is yours. Everything I worked for is yours. And Miranda." We all turned to look at her as Dad's voice hardened. "Miranda, if you're hearing this, remember what I told you the day we met. That the most dangerous mistake a con artist can make is underestimating their mark. Consider this your final lesson." The next hour passed in a blur of police statements and formal accusations. Miranda, Justin, and Ashley were led away in handcuffs, charged with fraud, coercion, and attempted theft. I sat in a comfortable chair provided by the bank manager, clutching the blue box that contained my father's last gift to me. Not just the inheritance, but the proof of his trust and love. Mr. Patterson sat beside me, his familiar presence comforting. "Your father came to me 2 months ago," he explained softly. "He discovered Miranda's attempts to access his accounts, found evidence of her past cons. Instead of confronting her, he decided to play along, gather evidence. He said you taught him that, about keeping detailed records." I laughed through my tears. "When I was setting up the bakery, I made him help me create spreadsheets for everything. He always said I was better at documentation than he was. He was so proud of you, Sarah. Every time you achieved something new with the bakery, he'd come into my office just to brag about his amazing daughter." The aftermath of Miranda's arrest played out over the following months. The evidence Dad had gathered was overwhelming, not just of her attempt to steal his estate, but of similar cons she pulled in other states. She and her children had targeted wealthy, terminally ill men before, but never anyone as thorough as my father. The day I moved back into our family home was bittersweet. Every room held memories. Dad teaching me to dance in the living room, our epic baking fails in the kitchen, the countless nights we'd spent in his study as he taught me about business and finance. I found one last surprise in his study, a letter tucked inside his favorite first edition Sherlock Holmes book. The paper was thick, expensive, the kind he used for special occasions. "My dearest Sarah," it began, "if you're reading this, then our plan worked. I know it must have hurt, watching Miranda try to take everything we built together. But you taught me something important with your bakery, that sometimes you have to be patient, let things develop properly, like a good sourdough starter." I laughed out loud at the baking reference. Classic Dad. "I'm leaving you more than just the house and the business, Sarah. I'm leaving you the knowledge that you're stronger than anyone who tries to deceive you, smarter than those who underestimate you, just like your mother was." The letter went on, sharing memories, dreams, and one final surprise. He'd already paid off my bakery loan in full. "Consider it my last investment in your dreams," he wrote. 6 months after Miranda's arrest, my bakery was thriving. I'd expanded into the space next door, adding a cafe section where people could sit and enjoy their pastries. The walls were decorated with photos of Dad and me throughout the years, and one special picture, Mom and Dad on their wedding day, standing in front of our Victorian home. Every morning, as I unlock the bakery's front door, I think about everything Dad taught me. About business, yes, but more importantly about love, trust, and the power of playing the long game when fighting injustice. Miranda and her children eventually took plea deals, avoiding longer sentences in exchange for returning all the money they'd stolen from their previous victims. I testified at the sentencing, not for revenge, but to ensure the judge understood the pattern of their crimes. They didn't just steal money, I told the court. They tried to steal the legacy of love between parents and children. They tried to corrupt the trust that makes families strong. The Victorian house is full of life again now. I host weekly dinner parties for friends, baking my way through Mom's old recipe box that Dad had carefully preserved. Sometimes Mr. Patterson joins us, sharing stories about Dad that make me laugh and cry in equal measure. Last week, while cleaning out an old closet, I found Dad's collection of spy novels. Tucked inside one was a bookmark with his favorite quote, "The best revenge is living well." Below it, in his neat handwriting, he added, "And having better evidence." I keep that bookmark in my office at the bakery now, a reminder that love doesn't just give us strength. It gives us wisdom, patience, and sometimes the perfect recipe for justice. They say you can't choose your family, but that's not entirely true. Every day, we choose how to honor the family we've lost, how to protect what they built, and how to carry their legacy forward. Dad chose to protect me one last time, using the very skills I had learned from him. And I choose to remember him not just through photographs or inheritance, but through every loaf of bread I bake, every business lesson I share, and every moment I spend in the home he fought so cleverly to preserve for me. As for Miranda's designer clothes and expensive jewelry, they were auctioned off to help repay her victims. I kept only one thing, the fake Cartier watch she always wore. It sits in my office drawer, a reminder that some things in life, like some people, aren't what they appear to be. But others, like my father's love and trust in me,